You are now listening to Liberty Coast to Coast, hosted by LibertyViral.com.
No gimmick if I rip it through, I live it then. And you can't do it, so ain't no need for mimicking. I'm not innocent, I'm on a mission, so let me finish it. Matter of time before they summon the army in. I'm probably on the FBI's most wanted list. I'm probably going to hung like an ornament. I'm on a life mission to abolish all the government.
All right, guys, welcome back to Liberty Coast to Coast. I'm Kody. I'm here with my spirit animal, Keith Doran, over there. Keith, say hi.
Hello.
And we're also here with Adam Kokesh's Freedom Tour manager, Vann Gutier. Vann, you want to say hello?
Welcome, guys, or thank you for the welcome onto your show.
Absolutely. Glad that you could be with us. Keith, we got a lot to talk about today. Last night was the second Libertarian Town Hall on CNN with Anderson Cooper. I think it went much better than the first one. I don't know what you guys thought, but it was much more clear, much more concise.
Well, I'll tell you what. I face-palmed a total of 0 times. Unlike the other one, I thought my hand was going to go through the back of my head. It was a big change for the better. These guys actually seem like they practiced. I think Gary finally got himself a debate coach. He did good. He did very good. And I don't know if everyone will agree with me out there, but I think a lot of it comes to finding peace with them as moderates, less than trying to cram them into that libertarian box. What do you think, Vann, as you were listening to the debate, the town hall? Yeah, it's not that easy.
Wishful thinking. Listen, I know I have wishful thinking too for the debate. I think Gary did great. I liked a lot of his responses. I also was. I'm gonna listen to it again on the way home, but better than last time. And last time, I mean, I don't know. I don't see libertarians threatening to commit suicide today, so I think he did okay.
Yeah.
After the last town hall, you would have thought that the end of the world had already started to happen. But
yeah, that's 100% true. You know, I think that point that you're making right there, when after that first town hall, we all were terrified as to what in the hell was going to come next, because it was so bad that no articulation of anything, unable to stick to any sort of fathomable libertarian principles. But this second time around, Keith, to your point, they must have had somebody work with their language, because they were much more clear, much more concise. And they always talk about this, the co-ticket, right? They're not running for president, vice president. They're running for, what does Gary call it, the 2 heads for the price of 1. And at least this time, they both gave the same message. Because in the first town hall, they're like, oh yeah, team unity over here. And then Gary would say, I believe in auditing the Fed. And then you'd have Bill Weld go, I don't know if we need to get rid of it, or to even take a look into it, because it would cause financial scares, this, that, and the other. But at least this time, they were giving very, very similar issues, or similar answers on the issues.
Yeah, similar responses. I think Gary was just more prepared. He was more confident. He didn't have. I didn't see, but I could. The first town hall, you could hear it in his voice. When he starts saying, well, and shrugging, and kind of like, uh-oh, I didn't do it. That look, he didn't. I guess he didn't really do that last night.
No, it was much clearer.
Yeah.
Keith, what did you think was the most interesting thing that you had talked about last night? What really stuck out to you that you were just like, fuck yeah, Gary?
Well, there were 2 points that got me. One, he really nailed it on the marijuana question, and I think we expected that of him. But I think another thing that came across was his humble language, which we've kind of gotten down on him for not being, I would say, alpha. But Cooper picked up on it when he said, wow, that's someone saying, maybe I don't know, or perhaps I could be wrong. Like, this idea that you could have a humble politician, one that's open to thought, actually came across, and I think they came across as much more likable to the American public. I think that was the biggest gain. And last night, if you're not aware, we are coming right down to the wire. We're 2 weeks away from the deadline for that 15% to get into the national debates. So we're looking for 3% more. And I think last night, that real down-to-earth language is what might get them there.
Definitely true. I think it was interesting, too, because when CNN first pulled up the town hall, you see Gary on the stage, and they started talking about with Donald Trump and the way he runs his campaign and how everything is so negative, and how if you listen to Donald Trump and you lived in a vacuum, you would think that the entire world was falling apart, right? Donald makes it sound all doom and gloom. Police shootings are up higher than they've ever been. There are immigrants running, amok in the street. Terrorism happens every day. That's what his campaign is founded on, and I think Anderson Cooper made it very clear. Like, the message coming from the LP and the ticket of Johnson Weld has been nothing but positive, right? They talked last night about how America is great. It has its flaws, right, as every country does, but the overarching idea coming out of the United States is we have our flaws, but the difference between us and other nations is that we actively try to find, ways to better ourselves. And I think that they nailed it when they said America is great. America is great. We have our flaws, but we're great. We do things better because we actively tried to do them better. And I think that's a big, stark difference coming between even Hillary's campaign to some extent.
Absolutely.
Hillary. Gross. I'm still. I'll see them here and there, but I don't actually know anybody in my circle or close outside my circle who's a Hillary supporter. I have yet to really meet one.
Well, yeah, and then all the Trump people get mad at you when you bash Trump all the time. They're like, "Why do you only bash Trump?" It's because I don't know anybody supporting Hillary. It's funny because the polls are close to win, but I don't know anybody supporting him. I literally don't.
Yeah.
But
well,
that's a story for another time.
We just know that Trump's not supporting her this go around.
Yeah, just this time, right? Just this time. Even though Bill Clinton, there's an article that came out today that said Bill Clinton encouraged Donald Trump to run for president.
Oh.
That was NBC, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. The one thing that was really cool too for me that stuck out was they didn't do it like full-throatedly or like with a machete in hand, but they did attack Trump and Hillary this time. They actually went after them for some of the record, and specifically when they asked Bill Weld about Hillary's emails, he kind of gave a wishy-washy answer, but they both actually came to the agreement that Hillary is a crooked liar. And that's a big step for them because, when you go from great public servant to a crooked liar, that's like walking across 6 football fields without getting tackled.
Yeah. I gotta say, the buzzword of the Hillary bashing was beholden. I don't know if that's the word I would have chosen. I don't know if that's the word I would have dwelled on. But man, Gary loved that one.
Yeah, it looked like he kind of, because when he said it too, he had this like sheepish grin appear on his face, like he was very excited to tell this story, because somebody finally said that's a word you can say and people aren't going to be offended by it. But when he's
try swearing for the first time.
Yeah, it looked like he went in the dictionary and goes, "That word sounds kind of mean. I'm gonna use that word."
Sorry, guys. I'm just sitting here watching you guys go back and forth. I don't know. I think Gary's just trying. This is what Gary's doing. This is my honest interpretation, especially after the town hall and then this one. He's waiting to take the gloves off. And I think a great point in time to take the gloves off would be during the debates. And if he even directly said, well, I've been nice so far and now it's time to take the gloves off, and really hit home with something that sticks, because he is the best candidate right now. I mean, there's arguments for other third-party candidates like Darrell Castle, or, if you're a leftist, Jill Stein's obviously the fall to. And my friends that are former Bernie supporters, if they don't like Gary Johnson for whatever reason, I still try to push them on to like Jill Stein or another third-party ballot or a third-party candidate that, I think it would be great if we came out of this election with 2 parties that, besides the Republican and Democrats, that had 5% or more. I think it would be great. And you can say, oh well, the Libertarians should be no, everybody.
More choice.
Let them have their equal say. Yeah, and especially if people are voting for Jill Stein, it's probably going to be votes that would have been cast for Hillary. Oh, well. Yeah. Give them to Jill. all day. I'll take votes for Jill Stein over Hillary all day.
I will have to say, though, if you're voting for Jill Stein, you're probably really concerned for our health right now, as I'm pretty sure all three of us are on Wi-Fi.
Actually, after hearing Jill Stein's comments, I went all the landlines. I'm wearing tinfoil under this. I will be safe.
Undergarments, right? You're wearing tinfoil underwear. I saw you molding it before we went live.
Tinfoil for my brain and my balls.
I think no underwear is the way to go, but who am I to speak?
Well, then you're going to get Wi-Fi radiation on your balls.
Actually, I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm using 4G right now. So.
Oh, well, that may be more dangerous.
It's killing my battery.
Yeah, that doesn't go well for the battery.
No.
So, in terms of what did you guys hear that kind of struck you as still a bit offsetting? Like, obviously now, Keith, especially you've talked about how you've kind of taken this moderate approach to Gary. You're not looking for him to be the pure thoroughbred racehorse of libertarianism. You're looking for him to be an advancement in that direction. What still kind of was that thorn in your side that maybe didn't make you punch your fist through your face like you were talking about, but it made you kind of scratch your head and go, why? If you're gonna think things like this, why say it?
Well, the comment that I'm going to continue to cringe at is his whole religion as a black hole. Now, I'm an atheist, but much like AP, I'm strong on freedom of religion and freedom of association. So I hear something like that, and I go, little too deep into leftist territory. But I can understand the appeal. I just don't think it's a strong play, and I think where you have a lot of the religious right is already looking away from Trump, I don't think it's a good move strategically. Beyond that, the only other real complaint I had was Weld's answers on guns. They were almost identical to Hillary and Trump's, but I can make peace with that in knowing that A, he's the VP, so he's not getting anywhere near it, and B, it's the same position. So
you're not losing
I can't
anything.
really nitpick this one ticket on this, and I'm certainly not going to.
Yeah, it will be clear. Bill Weld is terrible on guns. That hasn't changed, but luckily he is the VP, and I think that's a big point.
I think Bill Weld's more of a. I think he's that middle. I think he is the moderate in this, in this election for being the VP. I think he brings Gary. I think Gary's just a very. I don't know. Like I kind of want to call him like a classic, a social Republican.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting question for both of you, because you're both talking about how the moderate thing keeps coming up. Do you guys think that maybe Bill Weld has actually pulled Gary into being less libertarian than he was before, or do you think that Gary is just kind of expressing who Gary is? Because I think there could be an argument to be made. I mean, if you look at the two, Bill Weld is the alpha of the pack, right? He's the guy that controls the room when they're in it. And which is unfortunate when you have your VP kind of overshadowing you. And it's been that way. This debate was much better, I think. I think that Gary stepped it up. But do you think that it's possible for Bill Weld to actually influence his presidential pick, or the president on his ticket with him as the VP? What do you think,
Hey, Vann, you want to take this? As Gary Johnson would defer to Weld?
Yeah.
Oh, well, hold on. Are you guys, hold on. Look, hey, Keith, you want to take this one?
Well,
That's what I think about it. I
Hillary
really do.
and I go way back,
I don't expect
I'm going
Gary.
to have to say, no, but I will say this. I actually think Weld has been a positive influence, and I may get some grief for this, but
I don't mean a negative in any sense. I just mean in terms of directing where Gary moves.
Yes. I think Weld was the one who convinced him to put on shoes.
It's possible.
I mean,
although I think Bill Weld also wears the same suit every day.
Well, Weld owns more than one suit, like Gary.
At the convention, did you guys ever see him walk or anything? I heard somebody say that, oh, well, they're just prepping us for a Bill Weld presidency in 2020, or they're going to try to throw a bill. Well, no. Have you seen him walk? I think Ron Paul probably could walk around better than that man.
Yeah, the only time I actually saw him run was he was running from Daryl Perry because Daryl Perry was chasing him down through the floor. And for those of you guys who were there, and if you know who Jake Hickey is trying to follow Daryl Perry down the floor of the convention with his cell phone camera to record this. And Daryl Perry catches up to Bill Weld, and he looks him in the eye and he goes, "You better not fuck us again." And Bill Weld's like, "I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to," like this old, grandpa voice. and Daryl Perry goes, "Are you sure about that?" And he's like, I mean, they're nose to nose. And if we could find this video, that would be amazing. So I might have to reach out to some people, see if we can find it. But Daryl Perry goes, "Are you going to fuck us again?" And Bill Weld goes, "No." And Daryl Perry goes, "Say that on camera." And Bill goes, I will not do what I did in New York to you guys again." And Daryl Perry goes, "I don't fucking believe you, but I wanted to get it on camera." And then they walked away. It was fantastic. But I mean, that's a side note off of what we've been talking about. But yeah, I think that's an interesting question, and I think you guys both answered that really, really well in terms of how influential on Gary Bill Weld can be. Hopefully not that influential, especially in the Second Amendment, because that would be kind of worrisome. But let's actually dig into where they did do well. Let's dig into that drug issue and explain some things that people may not have heard if they weren't watching or listening to the town hall. Specifically, the lady whose name was Diane Carlson, I believe. She said some quite interesting things about drug use and specifically marijuana. And I'll let you guys talk about what happened there.
I want to know where we can get some 95% THC marijuana, because the shit I've been getting off Joe Biden is like ditchweed compared to that.
Joe Biden.
Hey, come to Arizona and get some of this John McCain weed. We got some of the best weed in Arizona. It's not even weed. It's wax. It's concentrates.
Is it called John McCain weed? Is it called John McCain weed because he smokes it, or because you have to smoke it in order to deal with him?
No, maybe some people have to smoke it to deal with them.
You'll be so high you won't be able to.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure. I think McCain's against weed. I'm not even sure. I don't even follow him. I'm hoping we can get him out this year.
Yeah, I've been seeing you do work with that campaign too. What do you think, Keith? What do you think about her?
I'm getting attacked from the Libertarian state here in Arizona because I volunteered for a Republican. Well, first of all, hold on. Let me just back up a second. I had a problem with becoming a Libertarian delegate at the convention because I had already promised a candidate that's running for Senate to replace John McCain that, hey, I am with you, and you're gonna have two of my votes, because mine and now my ex, we were both gonna vote. We were both registered Republican. We're both gonna vote for Kelly, and do our part in our district to help. And
this is Kelly Ward, correct?
Yeah, Dr. Senator Kelly Ward. And I promised a lot to her, and before I became a Libertarian, and that was the hardest part of joining the Peterson campaign and going to the convention and actually being a Libertarian, was giving up that, because I wasn't going to switch to the Libertarian Party just to go to the convention and then go back to the Republican Party so I can vote for Kelly Ward and then switch back to Libertarian. No, I'm not playing that game. I'm a Libertarian now. And I shook her hand. I actually met with her and told her, I apologize. This is what I believe. And,
well, too, I think it's important that we build coalitions. Like, we can't just pretend that the LP is going to win everything. Like, we should have people in the Republican Party who are liberty-based and in the Democratic Party who are liberty-based.
Here in Arizona, it's at a stalemate because if you understood the laws requiring ballot access, the number of required signatures to get on a ballot is, in most cases, on average, 35 times higher than it is for, let's say, a Republican per person in that district, or however they base it off of. The number of the number of Libertarian signatures or independent signatures that you have to get is outrageous. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense, and it makes it impossible for us to get on the ballot because there's not Libertarians, every other door, just like the Republican and the Democrats.
You gotta look under rocks.
It's very, you can get the voter records and all that stuff, but it's hard, and they have made it in Arizona. And here's the one, the bone that I have to pick with her. She voted on that bill to where it limited access for libertarians, and that's, a lot of the Libertarian Party here will eat her for lunch on those issues every single day. But I mean, I've come up with ideas to try to make it up to the Libertarian Party, involving her campaign. And I know if I went to her personally and said, "Hey, let's do something here. Let's make this up. Let's help get the Libertarians back on the ballots and lower the amount of what do you call it? Required signatures." Yeah, then I feel like it could make peace. But instead of trying to go for a reasonable solution like that, I would rather talk to somebody and try to work something out rather than attacking politically.
Right.
Now, and Ben, can I just add, as far as recognized libertarians, I do believe Ron Paul has endorsed Dr. Kelly Ward, but hasn't endorsed Gary Johnson.
That's a fair point. At least.
So, to degrees of libertarianism, I believe that listeners should realize that we're not talking a Marco Rubio Tea Party and then turn your back. We're talking an RLC liberty-loving Republican.
A Derek Grayson-like. Very Derek Grayson-like. And that's my route of where I was brought in politically. Right now, where I'm at, man, after reading Freedom, I mean, it blew my mind. It really did. And to think that if I can reach out and affect 1, 2, 3 people and get them to kind of get the message, if it's one by one, and it's one person at a time. And
right.
I don't think I could ever go back to that brand of RLC.
Well, that's why we love you, Van, because you put your heart and soul into everything. I mean, and that's kind of why we wanted to have you on here, is because I think the things that you're doing and the places you're going are exactly the message we preach at the end of every episode, that we need to make liberty viral, not just on the internet, but go viral throughout the United States.
Coast to coast, door to door, whatever it takes.
When I'm at a stop sign, man, I don't have my Gary Johnson sign in here with me. I took all that stuff out because I was going up to Jackalope. I was sleeping in the bed of my...
Didn't want to get murdered at Jackalope by carrying a Gary Johnson sign?
Huh?
Said you didn't want to get murdered at Jackalope by holding a Gary Johnson sign?
Yeah, I just hold a sign that says "Vote for Nobody."
Well, I remember some really good videos of you, Van, back from the Trump rally you had in your thing, where you were telling people you wanted to talk about your Johnson.
Yeah. Hashtag. Let's talk about my Johnson. And then I had people saying on the internet feed, on the Facebook Live feed, who's Mike Johnson? Who in the world is Mike Johnson?
That's hilarious. Well, let's pull this back into what we were talking about. I know we jumped off on a tangent because of the marijuana question with John McCain, and those moments are typically the best parts of these shows. But let's get back into the town hall. Did either of you guys notice what Gary Johnson's exact wording was, and have a thought about when they discussed what he could do as president to help the legalization, or not necessarily the legalization, but help end the drug war? I don't know if you guys caught this. It was something that kind of spoke to me. It was interesting.
Did he say something about taxing it or regulating
No. It was actually better. I mean, especially from our standpoint, where we all come from. He said that he would deschedule marijuana day one in office. And if you guys remember correctly, I believe that was an Austin Peterson idea that Austin actually came up with in one of the debates during the LP. And it's nice to see that Gary, whatever their relationship may be between him and Austin, that he's at least paying attention enough to know when to learn something, especially when it's beneficial to your campaign. I think that's a huge talking point, that we don't have to make it legal, but we just need to decriminalize it.
Yeah,
right away.
Because if you decriminalize it, then it gives no incentive to enforce an unjust law on an individual who's doing what they want with their own self. And that's what Gary Johnson's trying to preach this, I don't know, because I know Gary is a strong proponent of the Marijuana Policy Project, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but it's a nationwide, I don't know, it's a bunch of lobbying bullshit, what it is. It failed in Ohio. It's what's destroyed the marijuana industry in Washington. Michael Pickens will tell you that for himself. And it's like the exact opposite of what's going on in Colorado. Let me just give you an example here in Arizona. We have like 70 dispensaries, maybe. Colorado has like 900 dispensaries, okay? And I don't know if you paid attention after Colorado legalized, but they ran out of marijuana the first week. I think it was like the first weekend, first 2 days. Arizona only has 10% of the amount of dispensaries that they have, and 500,000 people more. We're going to run out of weed the first 6 hours it's legal. You know what I mean? And then what we're voting on this year, the Marijuana Policy Project, to regulate it, and that this is some of the words that they use in the campaign, that they want to regulate marijuana like alcohol. But in Arizona, there's over 1,000 places where you can purchase alcohol, and with the marijuana policy project, how is that regulating it like alcohol? It's not going to. There's no possible way, and it's just there's better ways.
That descheduling would be the best way, in your opinion, to get to that point, then.
Yeah.
Right,
okay. So marijuana policy project puts their bill on top of the existing. I forget that it's ARS something. It's one of the. It's what makes marijuana illegal here in Arizona. The bill that makes marijuana illegal. So they want to place the legalization of up to only an ounce of store-bought marijuana. They want to put that over a felony. So let's say you buy 2 ounces on the street from your buddy, you're going to jail, and the cops still have incentive to kick in your door and look for marijuana and still investigate for marijuana. The drug war continues. The Marijuana Policy Project is not a libertarian message. It is not a libertarian. It's not a libertarian answer to the drug war or to marijuana. So if you guys ever hear about it, what's going on in California? Is that Marijuana Policy Project?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not heavily involved on that side of things. I've been trying to clean up my own party at this point and then move from there. Because until you have a party that's actually has the ability to run things, it's hard to start pushing for anything. So right now I'm just getting in and trying to help them get up to speed. But I know that there is something on the ballot. I'm not 100%. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'll get back to you on that. But I think that to Gary's point and to Austin's point, ultimately, that is the way to go about things, because you're right. It takes away the incentive to enforce the drug war. It stops putting people in jail for a victimless crime. And if you guys, if anybody listening comes from the worrisome side of, drugs are bad, and again, just because we believe in bodily autonomy doesn't necessarily mean we believe that everybody should go out and smoke weed today. We just believe that you have the right to do so if that's your way of relaxing. If you're worried about it, go look at what happened in Portugal. Go look at what happened in Portugal when they deregulated about 15 years ago, I believe, and look at their crime numbers. But they didn't just deregulate marijuana; they deregulated everything, and their crime rate, their usage rates have dramatically dropped. So that's a good way to go take a look at what would actually happen.
Well, what about in Colorado? I was pretty sure I heard CNN say there were people dying from marijuana in Colorado. Is that true?
That's what the lady said.
I mean, maybe they died with THC in their system. That could be a way to justify how CNN sold that. Oh, well, when he died, when he ran his car off the bridge and he went to the river and nobody ever saw him again, he had marijuanas in his system. Okay.
Right, but exactly. And the differentiation point there would be he died because he was in a car accident, not because of the marijuana, right? If he would have sat at home and did nothing, he would have been perfectly fine. And again, that goes to the personal.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in your libertarian pipe dreams, because I read a story just last night when I went looking for this death.
Wait, you can't read.
The listeners don't know this.
Oh.
So apparently there was a story. And I can't report on how true it is, but maybe this is what the woman in Colorado was talking about, where there was a bale of marijuana that was coming out of a dispensary that weighed over 600 pounds, and they were moving it from the back of a truck, and a young man in his 20s was actually crushed by a 600-pound bale of marijuana. He was killed by marijuana. The first documented death due to marijuana.
That's insane. That's an insane story. But yeah,
and we trust.
and we crush apparently.
Yeah.
It's funny. Let's talk about something else that Gary kind of hit on in his town hall with Bill Weld on CNN. If anybody wants to go check that out, you guys can find that video. I know it's on YouTube, the whole thing. So go look for that. Go check it out yourself. But another thing they were talking about, and somebody came up there and they were a Bernie supporter. I believe her name was. Let me see if I can find this here. It was Robin Sumner, I think, is what I had written down. She asked Gary, I was a Bernie supporter. I'm really pissed off because she didn't say this, but I'm gonna,
But she's not. She says she's not voting for Hillary.
Right. She said she won't vote for Hillary, but essentially, like, I want to make it sound like, she's not voting because Bernie sold out, which he did. She didn't say that, but he did. Anyway, she basically asked Gary, pitch me. Why would I vote for you guys? Like, what about what I believe or what Bernie believed, would make you more acceptable for somebody like me? And he did an okay thing here, and he went on about crony capitalism in the Middle East, and his belief in right to choose for women, and from an economic standpoint, I think he made his biggest thing, and he talked about the difference between income equality and equal opportunity, right? And he said that the government cannot give you equal income. You can't take from Peter to give to Paul, because Paul, his exact quote is, Paul always loves that situation, right? And then he said, but what we can do is get out of the way to give everybody an equal opportunity to have income. And I think that was, for me, that was probably the top one or two moments he had on stage. What do you guys think about that?
Well, he's got, what he's doing right there is he's positioning himself with, all he basically said right there is, I want to get the government out of your pocketbook. That's basically that's what he said.
And that's as simple as a message.
Without saying he wants to get him out of the bedroom. So, he's sticking to his message.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Keith?
And I think he did a good job of tying it in. I'm pretty sure in that same question he tied in the I Side With quiz, which I still think is a fantastic tool. And he did bring up a 70% Bernie, but he made sure that 30% was at equal opportunity. So he not only gave them a reason to reach towards him, but he also educated them. I think I'll have to agree with you. I think that was one of the highlights of the night.
Would you say he gave them a reason to grab his Johnson?
I think they were feeling the Johnson.
Let's talk about my Johnson. No, real quick. I took the I Side With again, and I think even I sided with Gary a little bit higher before the convention. Now the highest candidate that I side with is, I think, 72% Gary Johnson.
Yeah, I'm around those same numbers. That's the best
candidate right now. And then Darrell Castle's behind at like 63%.
Yeah, that seems very similar to my numbers. Actually, I think now Gary's a little higher on my list than he was previously. When I did it before and there were more people in the race, I think the top candidate, who was Austin, who we all know that story now, I was like 98%, and then it was Austin, and then Gary somewhere down in the low 80s, high 70s.
Can you imagine if all of our campaigns would have just stuck it together and pushed McAfee through? I mean, that
would have been very interesting.
Listen, the Peterson time at the campaign wouldn't stomach Perry. The Perry people wouldn't stomach Peterson. But the common denominator between all of it, it wasn't. I don't think it was Mark Feldman. I think it was John McAfee. And
we'll never know if it was Mark. God rest his soul.
Unfortunately, to that point, the language used by McAfee of "we're not going to win," I think is what stopped that from happening at the convention.
No, he was everybody's second favorite candidate at the convention, is what it was. Really, most people's second favorite, and the people that did have him as their favorite candidate, he had a core group of people, and it didn't really grow. You know what I mean?
I think too he hurt himself. He hurt himself a lot too when he kind of got all social justice warrior-y. At the end of his not the nomination speech, but his speech prior to the debate.
I think he was introducing Grayson because that was right before the Grayson speech, and
that makes sense. He just kind of went down the route of, he kind of tapped into.
He went down the
third-wave
road that
feminism
I'm
for
about
hot
to
second.
throw this towards a black man. I'm gonna give my endorsement not to Judd, but I'm gonna give it to a black man that is here at the 11th hour, which I thought that was beautiful. But
Yeah, no, that was a fun. That was definitely one of the fun parts of the convention.
I'm
Let's
going
see,
at it with Grayson right now. To be honest with you, as peaceful and awesome as it was to be Derek Grayson's sidekick at the convention. I'm not. He's trying to sell me Trump right now, and it's like, come on, man. I've been there. I've done that. I told you, I'm not a Republican.
Yeah,
he's biting onto that Ron Paul promise that Donald Trump is trying to sell people, and some people it's working, like Christopher fucking Cantwell. Excuse me.
well, nobody really likes Cantwell. He has no class, as some other friend of ours would say.
I think he's funny. Like he runs his mouth, and I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, no, he's funny. He's definitely funny.
I don't want to say anything bad. My goal is not to rip libertarians anymore. It really is.
Keith and Ari's goal is to throw rocks at everybody. That's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to throw rocks in indiscriminate locations and hope people yell at us.
By nature.
Yeah.
The libertarians, they provide the most entertainment, and I think they provide the most principle and unity. So like, it's not just opposition for the sake of team. I think when you have people disagree with Gary, at least they seem to come from a place of trying to hold him to the platform, which is why at the start of this episode, I really urge people, and I still do, don't look at them as libertarians. Look at them as moderates, and I hate to say it, but the lesser of three evils.
No, I look at it this way. They are the libertarian nominations. Okay, that's who we sent there. They're libertarian, and let this be a learning. Let this be an experience, where we can all learn from it, so that it never happens again. And that's where you put. That's when you take the messages of all the different sects of the Libertarian Party and you put them against the establishment candidate. I don't know who the establishment candidate's going to be in 2020. I really don't know. It's kind of scary to think about. Keith, plug your ears real quick. My honest opinion, I think Larry Sharp might be the establishment candidate in 2020. And it sounds better than Gary Johnson, but he's
at least more articulate.
Yeah, I
really like Larry Sharp. I have no problem with that, and I would be enthusiastic to support that ticket. That's not to say I probably wouldn't back a certain someone along the way and give it my all, but if Larry Sharp ended up getting the nomination, I wouldn't
be upset. I'd be more content if Larry Sharp had the presidential nomination this year. I really would. I think Larry Sharp could have easily contended for the nomination. There were some powerhouses on that stage. There really were. I was honestly thinking John McAfee was going to have a lot more support than that. And that was to me, it was kind of...
it's flatline. It was anticlimactic.
It just, it took off and then it plateaued and it didn't keep going. But I think he's devoted to the Libertarian Party with the vote different message. He really is. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
A lot of people are starting to use that hashtag that aren't even libertarians. They don't know why they're using it. They've seen it. It's out
that sounds like every American voter ever. They don't know why they're doing it, but they're doing it. Well, let's wrap this up on the debate, and we can move on.
They were fantastic, and they were not candidate specific. They were a great boon to the LP on a production level. That was a level of production unseen in the LP.
Hey guys, I want to throw this out there. I have gone through 2/3 of my battery and the time that we've been on, so my battery's literally going to flatline on you guys. I wouldn't say right.
It's up to you. If you want to hang on, you can hang on with us. If you want to jump out, that's just up to you.
No, it's fine. But in a little bit, it is going to die. So.
Okay, well let's transition. Let's transition away here from the town hall. I think we can all agree that it was a much better place for Gary and Bill. I think that, like Keith pointed out earlier in the show, that hopefully this will give them that 3% bump. I would also encourage them to reach back out to Glenn Beck, who has been reaching out to them consistently, and they have been ignoring that phone call that is millions of people a week that I think would really help with this 3% bump. Even if you pull a tenth of their listeners, that's huge. But yeah, I would say that I think in terms of media standpoint and presentability and likability, I think this town hall did wonders for them. But let's move on. Keith, I know in Maine you guys had something fairly exciting happen today. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, let's. My goodness, I mean, we were talking about the fun Vann had at his Trump rally, but I just had an absolute blast today at mine. I was basically looking for anyone who had a no Trump sign or a Trump's a racist sign. I went up to them, I go, so you feeling the Johnson? And some of them, they leaned back and said, yes, I am feeling the Johnson. And that made me happy. I have about 30 people, I would say about 10 or so, enthusiastically were supporting the LP ticket. Of that, 5 of them watched last night's town hall and were impressed. So that was a huge bump. Beyond that, though, there's a scene, and I think everyone's going to see it today, who's on social media, that's been coming out of that Trump rally in Portland, Maine, and they're blaming it, and they're trying to tie the Constitution waiving to Khan. I'm sorry, but Khan was not the first person to waive a Constitution.
Khan being the Gold Star father who spoke at the DNC, correct?
No, well, yeah, but I believe it was William Weld who was the first person, as a call to action, to waive the Constitution at Donald Trump and say, maybe you should read this.
Yeah, maybe you should read this for once. Yeah, I remember that. Look, well, Donald Trump is running on national populism. Whatever. How do you call it? A socialist populist?
No, national populism. You had it right.
National socialist.
A nationalist socialist populist. A racketist. No, and if you watch what he did today, it's almost like he's like, here, followers, drink more of the juice. Let's pick and prod at these guys, and he does a really good job at picking fights. Right. I think he's trying to impersonate Ron Paul's message just a little bit, but it's not sincere, and that's
the biggest problem with all that today.
I could never vote for Donald Trump. I could never vote for Donald Trump. I would vote for not president. Today, Donald Trump for not president.
When these people raised their constitutions in the air, they did not say a word. They were not blocking cameras. All they did as a show of solidarity is one hand over their head holding a pocket constitution. That's it. Now, Trump could have looked at them and said, oh, the Constitution, I love that book. It's my favorite book. You know, one of his trademark lines.
I've read it 1,000 times.
He stared at them in disgust. And this is what was really scary, because I recognize the people holding those constitutions. These were not Bernie supporters. These were not Hillary supporters. These were some of the men and women who I fought with in 2012 in the Ron Paul Revolution. These were Ted Cruz and Rand Paul supporters who loved the Constitution. And they like ourselves, feel out of place in the Republican Party, because what happened next was Trump stares at them with just this dark look, and the crowd went into a frenzy, screaming, USA! USA!
That's the national populism right there.
So they were chanting USA against the Constitution. I want to make this clear. There have been two instances now where Donald Trump's people essentially have booed the Constitution.
Yes. And
Ted Cruz's speech and today.
In Maine. It's why he lost in Maine. The Ted Cruz and Rand Paul following in Maine is very strong. It's also
I think in the Northeast, it's strong no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
People say New Hampshire, I think.
Yeah, New Hampshire specific. What are they? They're called the Constitution State or something like that, aren't they?
Live free or die, baby.
Yeah, it's interesting because it seems like Donald Trump is going after his base. Like it literally seems to be these last couple of days that Donald Trump has purposely gone out of his way to attack people in his base. The military should be his people, or at least a big chunk of his supporters. And he goes out and he attacks a Gold Star family. Now, it's fine to have issue with them being on the DNC stage and what the DNC's involvement with their speech is, but it's not okay to take this civilian family, Gold Star family lost their son in the war on terror, and that's a whole other realm we can delve into, but we'll gloss over it for now. Their son gave the ultimate sacrifice for his country, and Donald Trump takes his family, drags them through the mud on a personal level. He didn't criticize their actions multiple times. What he criticized multiple times was their religion, who they are as people, and what they are supposedly representing. I think one of his quotes was that the wife couldn't speak because their religion forbade it. That was an open question he posed, and then he kind of walked it back by saying, well, I didn't say it, it's something I heard, which is complete bullshit, because everybody knows that when you don't want to be tied to anything, all you have to say is, well, I heard somebody else say it.
Yeah, and it all comes down to, it's become this fanatic love fest for Trump. Like, I swear, the man could say he's going to make the sun rise in the west and make China pay for it, and they would just cheer.
Yeah,
they would.
No, it's a cult at this point in time. It is a cult. I actually had a run-in. I did a live stream from my work the other day. I was out pounding political signs for the other party, okay, for money, okay, because I come with a price tag.
Hey, we're all capitalists here. No shame.
Well, no shame in free market capitalism. If you're a libertarian and you have a problem with me making money off hard work in the 115-degree sun in Arizona, then I'm sorry. That's my choice to do what I want. But I did a live stream basically urging people in Arizona, saying this is the last day that you could register as a libertarian. Go out and register as a libertarian. Write in the libertarian candidates on, and there are a lot of people in Arizona that I know who are Facebook messaging me saying, give me the Reader's Digest on Gary Johnson. I got to know about Gary Johnson. Tell me about him. I can't find anything besides he climbs mountains. Okay, well, hold on. Just real quick. He's climbed all the mountains, okay? He's ready to take on Trump. And it's not.
There was a meme. There was a meme I said that said, it was something to the effect like that bubblegum one. I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, but instead it said climb mountains, and he said, I'm all out of mountains.
Yeah, I'm all out of mountains.
I'm here to win elections and climb mountains, and I'm all out of mountains.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty cool.
No, I'm just gonna try to be as positive as I can towards people, because when I go on social media and I do it on my personal page, my friends who are Republicans and Democrats who are still tied into the two-party system duopoly of just bullshit, they see that and they see me trashing on Gary, so it makes them rear up a little bit, and I don't want to do that. I think if every single libertarian out there, portraying it to their two-party system friends, if they could just bite their tongue and think about 2020 and think about the future and think about the future of the party, that if we can just get that 5%, that dissatisfaction, okay, and deal with whoever the hell gets elected, then we have a better chance in 2020 to come back with a vengeance and actually, not put somebody like Gary on the debate stage. Can you imagine if Austin Peterson were debating Trump or Hillary, or if nonetheless Adam Kokesh? I mean,
a millennial, right? A millennial.
It would be
Donald
glorious.
Trump said stuff about, our military's depleted, blah, 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 blah. No, it's not. We still have more weapons to blow up the world 356 times, and probably more than that. We don't need more military. We need to spend money in a way that's not just providing, special interest bureaucratic jobs for somebody who is researching the X or B or whatever the hell. I don't know. I'm just at a point. I'm at a point where I'm done. I am done. I thought I was a minarchist, and then at heart, the ultimate goal is to eradicate government. And if you aim the bar that high, it's probably going to happen somewhere in between. And I'm good with anything in between, but I'll go ahead and place that bar way up here, like, let's just do it. Cut the head off government, and let's figure it out. You set the bar that high, you're going to get something in between. You know what I mean? Unless you can wake everybody up. But in this country, it's really hard to do that.
Yeah.
CNN.
I think
With CNN
all-
breaking news, there's been a stabbing in London that we just, not that there wasn't another stabbing here in the United States somewhere, but there's been a stabbing in London.
Right.
And,
No,
I heard
stories
that.
like
I paused.
that.
I'm like,
you want us to be
I
stabbed?
was like, really? What is it? A stabbing?
Yeah.
Remember? They interrupted for that, and then they talked
That was
about
better.
it's a distraction. It's another distraction, and it's racket.
Well, it kind of shows you how much they control the narrative, right? That's definitely true. But I think we can all agree that neither of the three of us are going to be voting. Is that proper? Can you use the word neither for three people? I'm going to.
We're going to.
All right. Well, neither of us three. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it forcefully.
Or somewhere around this country, none of us could probably work too. None.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. None of the three of us.
I spent my summers in Tennessee, so I used to, my southern draw can actually come out. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I think it's safe to say that none of the three of us will be voting for Hillary or Trump. I think all of us are really pushing. And, you kind of hit a home run with what you were talking about there, Van. And, the goal, you need to put a bar somewhere high enough that anything that falls in between, one, you don't feel like you've completed it, but because then you'll stop working. But two, every step toward that end goal or that highest point is a step in the right direction. Right. I think that we're watching the implosion of the GOP, one, because they don't hold themselves accountable to anything. I think the DNC's right up there next to where the GOP's going. Who knows? Maybe 10 years from now it'll be the Libertarians versus the Greens. That would be amazing, except I would still want the Democrats and the Republicans there because having more options, more competition creates better ideas, right? We believe that in an economic sense, and we believe that in the philosophical sense. When you hold people accountable and you force people to have options.
Politics.
Right, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think this is a good place to wrap this all up. This conversation has been great, not just on the town hall, but having Van here and give his 2 cents on everything has been phenomenal.
I'm sorry, I don't have the tripod. I was hoping Adam would stay and let me use the tripod, but
no big deal.
Get one, actually.
Well, we're definitely gonna have you back on, Van, and I know we're gonna see a lot more of you. I know.
Well, let's make an announcement, Keith. Let's just go ahead and announce it.
I'm looking forward to seeing a whole lot of Van. I didn't have enough of him down in Orlando, and the same goes for Adam Kokesh. So I'm excited to announce October 2nd through the 9th, I'm going to be hopping on the Freedom Tour as Liberty Coast to Coast as their representative to tag along and take part in this wonderful joyride through our country. And I'm excited. I'm really, really excited to drive from Maine down to Kentucky, the home of Rand Paul, who, my goodness, the Pauls got me all into this mess, and
they get you all hot and bothered, don't
the
they?
Libertarians who get me out.
Gets them all hot and sweaty.
All right, guys. Well, we thank you all for listening again. We hope that you continue to listen. We've seen solid growth not only on all our pages, but in listening to our podcast, and we can't say how much we appreciate you enough. If you guys want to go check out our website, go to www.libertycoast2coast.com. www.libertycoast2coast.com. You can find us on Podbean, Stitcher, iTunes, you name it, we're probably on it. Feel free to interact with us. Feel free to reach out to Keith and myself. Reach out to Van even. I know Van's very open to helping people get where they need to be, whether that's activism inside the LP or outside. Other than
I'll
that,
take on some Republican activists. I mean, if a Republican activist is willing to do something for liberty, why not?
Exactly.
You know?
It's all about
party lines. That's the one thing I think. I want to say one last thing for libertarians. I think if we stop trying to be the super libertarian and trying to compete with other libertarians and who's more libertarian, and we just focus on ourselves, then I think everything else will just come. I think we all can come along and acknowledge each other's beliefs and ideas and work together. And I don't know, Keith, I'm really excited for you to come. When Adam brought up to me, he's like, we should have, we can bring other people. Who would you think? And Keith? Can we bring Keith? Can Keith jump on in Maine and then just come for as long? I mean, maybe you could stay for the whole tour. Who knows? Maybe you could just, take a delayed break at work. I know that's probably not possible. For me, it was. I'm not a manager. I'm a server. I think it's great that you're coming. Thank you guys for having me on, Kody. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Van. Thank you for coming. All right, Keith, I'll let you do your tune and wrap us up.
Oh no, I mean I'm really happy. We got someone from the East Coast, we got someone from the West Coast, and Van bringing it hard from the Central in Arizona. Yeah, we really do have it covered, Liberty coast to coast. And if you want to make Liberty viral from coast to coast, I said check out our website, Liberty Coast, the number 2 coast, and just help us. Let's make Liberty viral. This has been a wonderful experience, and I hope to see Gary in the debates, and I hope to continue on this wonderful journey. But remember, above all, I will always be more humble than you.
All right, guys, we'll talk to you later.